Good morning. Good morning. All right. So you're planning your move abroad to Costa Rica, to Mexico, to Portugal, South Africa, East Africa, and and you're considering how you can help yourself financially while you're preparing for that move. Would moving to a less expensive place right here in the US while you're getting your exit strategy together be a good decision? I don't have it. This is not a yes or no. Okay. So this is something that we're going to work through together this morning. Hopefully, some of the ladies in the chat will have some good insight if they did or did not do it, if they chose to, and what helped them make this decision. But that's what we're going to talk about today. When do you know, or should Black women who are ready to move abroad, should Black women move to a less expensive part of their own country first, while they're getting their plan and their money together for their long-term move, for their big move? Okay. Good morning. All right. Good morning, everybody. Who's here? Who's here? Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Min. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Eleanor. Good morning, Chloe. Good morning, Fatumata. Good morning, Alfreda. Good morning. Oh no, good evening, Sashana in South Korea. How y'all doing? All right. Good morning. Abla K's thoughts. Good morning, Kemi. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Professor LCH. How's everybody? Is Connie Perry here today? Not yet. All right. Connie, my mom just got back from the family reunion, but I think she's supposed to be around today. As you can see, I'm not with my mom today. I'm not in exotic Dover, Delaware. I am in exotic Jacksonville, Florida, with my dear friend Katrina. Hi, Katrina. Good morning. I'm in her house. If you want to come over, come over. But if you lay in the bed, lay in the bed, chill, relax. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm on a house sitting break, right? I'm in between house sits, and I have a house sit starting Sunday in Daytona, Florida. So I'm here with Katrina in Jacksonville for a couple of days. It's gonna go by so quick. All right. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, so this is what I want to talk about today. If you're new here, hi, my name is Stephanie Perry. I'm a year-round house sitter. I'm the creator of House Sitter School. I help Black women embrace ease by house sitting, by taking a sabbatical, by moving abroad, by bopping around as a digital nomad. If that sounds good to you, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button, please, and turn on notifications. Ring that notification bell so that you will be notified when I post a new video or when I go live. Welcome. Okay, there's my mom. Hey, Connie Perry. Good morning, Mom. All right, yeah, so I just want to talk about this. Like I said, this is not a yes or no question. There's no one solid answer, but I have gotten the opportunity to hear stories from women who have done things a variety of different ways. And one of the ways that some women were able to afford either their move abroad or their sabbatical, be able to afford to take significant time where they don't work, right, is that they moved someplace that was more expensive. But this is not only for you New York City and greater New York area girls. It's not only for the LA crowd. It's not only for the Washington, D.C. crowd. Like, a lot of y'all cities are pricing you out, okay? This came to this idea. We're talking about this today because I just bopped through Raleigh on a house sit, Raleigh, North Carolina, and Nashville, Tennessee on a house sit, and then spent a couple of days in Birmingham in between house sits, and saw a variety of living costs, right? A variety of city expenses, right? And it had me thinking, is it worthwhile maybe for some of us to go someplace cheaper if we're working on a long-term plan, or if we're working on a long-term sabbatical? I don't know. If you did it, please let us know in the chat, right? If you did that, let us know in the chat that you did it. Give us some information. And I'm just going to share what I think and share some of the stories that I've heard from women, some of whom I've interviewed on this channel and some of whom I've talked to through like coaching and through the ExodUS Summit Facebook group. Yeah, let's talk about it, okay? Let's get it together. As you know, in 2015, I took a sabbatical. I took a year off from work. Over the course of 14 15 months, all the numbers are the same. Over the course of 15 months, I saved $14,000, which I used to travel full time for 1 year. I traveled Southeast Asia, Australia, and a little bit of Europe for 1 year. I did that mostly by working I worked extra hours at my job, which was like the equivalent of having an extra part-time job. I also was able to do that because I had just paid off my car. I didn't have a car payment. But how much quicker would I have done things? How much quicker would I have been able to get out? Or how much more would I have been able to save if I had moved in with family, moved in with my parents then, or if I had gone someplace a little cheaper. Wilmington, Delaware is not the most expensive place, but it's not the cheapest place, So my first thought on this, first I just came up with a list of who this would work for and who it probably doesn't make sense for. First thing, I think the idea of moving to a cheaper city so that you can save your money for your sabbatical or for your move abroad, for your new life. I think the first group of people it makes more sense for is the remote worker, as opposed to the person who needs a new job in a new city, except for y'all travel nurses. So I guess travel nursing isn't moving to a new city, but I don't want to talk travel nursing today because that's a whole other thing, a whole other wonderful alternative for people in nursing. But it makes sense to me, makes more sense to me to pick a cheaper city if you are a remote worker than if you need to move to a new city and get started with a new job. Look, part of it is just that the job getting processed takes forever, right? I remember I'm a serial job quitter, and I remember being able to start a job in like 3 or 4 weeks. It's like a 3-month process now, from the time you apply to they interview you to they do the background check and the whatever and the this and the that, and then they have you in they only do new employee orientation on the first Monday of the month, right? So it could take you 3-4 months just to get a new job, and that may be time wasted that you could have spent just making more money on the job that you already had. So to me, this makes sense to people who can work remotely versus people who need a job physically in a new city. Good news is a lot of y'all work remotely. Hey. So this is an increasingly popular option. Part of the reason, so I saw the comment right here, Raleigh is expensive. Hey, Greta King. Yes, Raleigh is expensive, and part of the reason that some of these places that used to be less expensive are blowing up in pricing, right, is that there are a lot of people who are no longer tied to a fixed location, and they're coming to your cities and driving prices up, right? So that's part of what's happening. This new remote work revolution, right? This new change, working remotely, being able to be anywhere and work, means that you can be anywhere and work, and people can take their San Francisco earnings, right, their Bay Area earnings, and go and live someplace like a Nashville or a Raleigh and really wreak havoc on the local pricing. Yeah, that plus greed, right? It's the people with the money plus the landlords who are greedy. There's a double dip, right? Yeah, Pat says, I'm from Raleigh. I decided to rent a room, yes, opposed to a 1-bedroom apartment to save money, yes. So the second group of people I think this work with is for people who are willing to share expenses with someone, right? Okay, so when I don't house sit, I am in my parents' home. I'm not paying for listen, you'd be surprised how little I pay them. But they get it in other ways, okay? But how much better is it to be willing, if you're willing to share expenses, willing and able to share expenses? So again, part of the reason that I'm thinking about this is I just watched a bunch of Kathy's videos. Hi, Kathy. I watched a bunch of Kathy's videos. Kathy's channel is Kathy Hampton. Kathy is the founder of Wellside Retreats, and I needed help with journaling this week, and I went down the Kathy Hampton channel rabbit hole. If you need some help with journaling, Kathy is your person. Okay, but Kathy also did this, right? Kathy lived in the metropolitan New York area when she decided, listen, I'm making some changes. She moved in with a family member in another city, left the New York area, went to another city moved in with a family member. And in that time, Kathy took a significant amount of time to travel Mexico and a significant amount of time to travel Portugal. Basically, one scouting trip that was like vacation length and one scouting trip that was a sabbatical. Kathy was able to afford a full-on sabbatical because she wasn't footing all of her expenses herself, footing the whole bill herself. And so that's one of the reasons that this came to my mind this weekend. Yes, and so I think that this option works really well for people who are willing to or wanting to share expenses. You know, I dream of Golden Girl life, right? You know, I dream of the Golden Girl life where I'm not paying for everything. I'm not paying for that gardener all on my own, right? The Golden Girls had a gardener. Remember the first episode, they had a chef and a housekeeper, right? But then they got rid of the chef and housekeeper. And then later on, they brought in another housekeeper, right? They had they lived. When they wanted to go on vacation, they went on vacation, okay? Some of that, and was able to move in Sophia even. Some of that was because they were sharing expenses. The idea of being a home for one, super American. A home for one person, very American concept. I mean, you see it other places. Well, actually, I was going to say Australia, but you see young people moving out in Australia, but they don't move alone because housing in Australia is crazy expensive. But yeah, in a lot of these countries where we love going and we love the vibe, we love the community, we love the familyness, the closeness, the importance on family. One of the ways that they show that is that they don't move out. Multi-generations live in that household. And I'm down with that, right? I'm down with that. So yeah, I think that this works well for people who are willing to share accommodation or share the load. If you're talking about going to a new city and setting yourself up entirely, you're probably throwing money in the trash if you're going to be responsible for everything. You're going to put down the first and last month's rent. You're going to pay the utilities. You're going to do all of that. I don't know that there's a city anymore in the U.S. where it makes sense to go and do things all on your own and to save a lot of money. I guess it's really relative, right? Because I keep talking about the Bay Area. I don't know how people afford to live in the Bay Area. So I guess if you're in the Bay Area, a lot of places seem really cheap to you. But if you're talking about leaving Atlanta, which is no longer on the cheap list, right? If you're talking about leaving Atlanta and going someplace less expensive, I don't know that it's going to be worthwhile if you're going to carry the full load yourself. Okay, any thoughts about this? So I didn't read Kathy's comments. I just saw her smiling face and put her on the screen. That's exactly what I did for my sabbatical and to work as a new digital nomad. That's right. So Kathy took us while she was staying with a family member. Not only did she take a scouting trip to Mexico, not only did she take a sabbatical to Portugal, but she didn't start her business. She already had a business, but she was able to commit a significant amount of time to the growth of her business, right? And to live as a nomad. I've moved recently for dual purposes, and one purpose is to cut costs for my long-term plan. Yes, right? So, yeah. These are two groups of people that I think this makes sense for. Anybody else? Let's see. I think it makes sense for people who are going someplace and are not going to have a car payment, but I guess that doesn't matter. The no car payment thing could just be your car is paid off, or the no car payment thing could be I'm in a place where I don't need a car. I think it makes sense for that. Yeah, okay, let's see. Let me get in the comments. All right. Greta. I downsized to a studio apartment 3 years ago. The cost to rent a one bedroom is between $200 and $600 more per month. Yes, right? So I'm glad I'm living in a studio apartment. Yes, all right. So being very, understanding that this is a short-term plan to get you to your long-term goal can make a lot of stuff unnecessary, right? As soon as you say, like, here's the real goal, and this is just a step to get me towards that goal, a lot of stuff just you don't need it anymore, right? You can cut out, do I need an actual bedroom? No, I do not, right? I will have my bed and I will put up a partition. I will be happy. Do I need a car, right? No, I do not. I will be in a place where I can walk to work and walk to stores. And if I need to pay for a ride, it'll still be cheaper than having a car and gas and insurance, right? Do I need to go out to these expensive, fancy restaurants and expensive happy hours on a regular basis? Or is the looking forward to this new life enough to carry me over that I don't need to do those things that are just designed to placate me in the meantime? I'm a person who used to happy hour my life away. But I didn't like my life. I wasn't happy with my life. So you go to happy hour to get some happiness. And I used to spend a significant amount of money on happy hours, right? And then once I got a new plan for my life, it's not like I don't still enjoy a happy hour, but it's not taking up my budget like it once did, right? So once you get a new vision, some things that you think you could not do without, you can easily do without. Yeah, right? So somebody right now is like, oh my gosh, a studio apartment or a tiny house, these things sound like too restrictive. If it gets you closer to your goal, you may love it. You're right. You may love it. It may be exactly the thing. It may be just the thing. Yeah. Abba says, I never want to drive again. And luckily in Mexico City, I don't. Right? Yeah. So some things you can't see yourself doing without. Probably 10 years ago, not 5 years ago, but 10 years ago, I couldn't imagine a life without a car. Right? I couldn't imagine living every day and not having a car. But I never lived in a place where public transportation was a thing. So for me, I didn't understand it. Saida, remembering that it's a short-term plan, yes, to a long-term goal, yes, is going to be very helpful. Absolutely. Everybody makes sacrifices. That's something that people forget, right? Everybody makes sacrifices. All decisions come with a sacrifice. I think I heard Adelia say this very recently on a podcast. Anything you say yes to, there has to be a no to something else, right? There's a no to whatever else the other thing is. Right? We just talked about my happy hours. Saying yes to happy hour was saying no to having that cash money and whatever that cash money could have gone to. And then saving for sabbatical, yes, was saying no to that happy hour rotation, right? Everything is a trade-off there are sacrifices. Even moving towards the most amazing life of your dreams requires sacrifices. There are things that we give up in order to get what we actually want. Yes. And so, yes, Saida, remembering that this is short term and it's to get you to the long-term goal, it really is helpful. It's helpful. So create reminders, right? Create reminders. I have this thing where sometimes I just be forgetting stuff, right? I just forget stuff. I need visual reminders, which is why I'm such a big proponent of the vision board. I need reminders. I forget stuff, right? Like my screensaver on my phone says 10K sponsor. I want a YouTube channel sponsor. I want a $10,000 YouTube channel sponsor. I have this here because I go weeks and weeks without pitching sponsors because I forget. I forget my long-term goal is the sponsor. So I create reminders to remind myself, right, that this is the goal. And then I'm supposed to also put pitching time on my calendar. That's another conversation. Yes. Yeah. So it does get so much easier to say no and make sacrifices when those sacrifices are in service of something that you really want. It's hard to sacrifice in service of something that you don't want, right? It's hard to sacrifice, right? Because Katrina just reminded me, my birthday last month when I turned 48, I said I'm going to start eating like a grown-up and stop eating like a 4-year-old. I have the diet of a toddler, right? I eat chicken fingers and cereal. I do drink coffee because I'm adult. But other than that, I do have a toddler's diet. But it's hard for me to make the change because I don't see it yet as being in service of something else. I need to tie the food goal to something that I actually do want to make it easier to do. Because right now I'm not doing it. I drove here from Alabama. I drove from Birmingham to Jacksonville, and I had Krispy Kreme donuts. I had Taco Bell. I had for breakfast I had Wendy's chicken nuggets. Right, like and a Frosty. So you need to have things. These things need to be tied to a long-term goal. You need to be able to see them. I need to be able to see, like, what is this getting me in order to make the change, in order to make that sacrifice. Yes, everything is a sacrifice, but you need to know why in order for that sacrifice to really happen. LLO. Hey, Katrina, you want to come in? Come on in. It's your house. Hi. Everybody say hey to Katrina.
Hey, y'all. Hey.
Oh, don't you look cute? I haven't seen her this morning because I was in the bed like,
Do you want coffee?
Yeah, if you want to make a coffee. If you're not going to make coffee, then no.
Okay.
Like, if you weren't going to make it anyway, then no.
Oh, no, he's bringing them back.
Oh, then yes.
Okay, do you want a latte or a coffee?
I'd like a latte, please.
Okay, vanilla.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, right? LLO, you have to evaluate the cost of stay. You know Katrina. Katrina came to visit me in the Caribbean when I was in Curacao. Katrina is the reason that I actually enjoyed and experienced Curacao, because until she came, I had not been anywhere or done anything. I was just like a remote worker, basically, in the house, sitting in front of my laptop all day. And when Katrina came down to Curacao, we actually like went places and did things. And I got to see how beautiful some of those beaches are. The good beaches in Curacao are not the beaches in town, right? You need a car to get to the good beaches. Okay, LLO, you have to evaluate the cost of staying, yes, with cutting down expenses, yes, versus the cost of moving to where it appears to be cheaper. Appears to be. Cheaper today may not end up being cheaper. Prices increase daily. We know yesterday's price is not today's price, right? Some of y'all know. Some of y'all are holding your breath right now because you know the exact same apartment that you're renting or the exact same house, you know as soon as that lease is time for renewal, that landlord is going to have a new figure in mind, right? Yes. This is part of the trap of people who move to a quote unquote cheaper city. It ain't always cheaper. I'm in a Facebook community called Flip the Zip, and that's their main goal, right? Move to a cheaper city to live better on less. But their Flip the Zip is US, right? Not international. They talk about moving to places. So probably 3 or 4 years ago, Raleigh, North Carolina was at the top of everyone's list. It's no longer super inexpensive now. Yes, right? So appears to be cheaper is the magic word. So friends, this is a group assignment. So how do you know? Because people will tell you anything. People will tell you that so-and-so is cheap. Somebody will tell you Nashville is cheap. I was just there. It's not cheap, right? People will tell you Mexico City is cheap. I've been there. It's not, it can be very not cheap, right? So how do we know? How do we know what to look for to make the move worthwhile? Anybody want to tell us what you look for to make sure that it's worthwhile? I think you need to be able to see the rent prices right now, not somebody who rented a year ago or 2 years ago. Somebody telling you what they paid in their neighborhood a year or two ago, that's not helpful information. It's not helpful information. Inflation is inflationing. Prices are booming. So somebody saying, here, I rented and I got a place in this neighborhood for this amount of money a year ago, 2 years ago, not helpful. Not helpful. You need to know, like, what is this today? What is this renting for today? So I think that's an important thing to know. I think transportation and food costs are important. Food costs vary. In the U.S., I don't know. Food costs vary in different places, right? What are food costs? And then what are utilities? Sometimes people move from places where you don't have to pay for heat to places where you have to pay for heat, and it can be a shock to the system. I lived in a drafty house in Delaware, in Wilmington. My house was built in like 1900 something, right? A nice row house, like a typical row house. And there were times when my electric bill was over $300 for 1 month, right? And then there were times when in the summertime, my electric bill, and I didn't have central air, I had window units. And in summertime, my electric bill was $76 a month, right? So you ask me what my electric bill is, and if you ask me at the wrong time and I tell you $76, you're in for a rude awakening when you get there and have to be warm in the winter, when you have to heat that place during a blizzard. Yeah. Also, Greta says we have to be careful of the lifestyle creep. That's right. Because when you can afford more, you buy more, right? When you can afford more things, you buy more things. And so when you think, oh, I'm going to move to this less expensive place, my expenses are going to be cut by 40%, right? I'm going to spend 40% less. That just gives you 40% more to play with. And is it going to what you originally said you wanted to put it towards, right? Now, if your goal is to go to a place where you can afford massages and manicures and pedicures on a regular basis, and that's what you're going to put the money towards, do it, right? But if you're going to a place to live on less so that you can save money, actually save money towards the next thing, that lifestyle creep is real. And you'll find yourself spending money that you had not intended to spend. Yes. Thank you, Greta. Yeah, Virgo Lady 77. I'm praying that my rent doesn't skyrocket this year. Like, it's all up to greedy landlords, right? It's all up to how much does your landlord want to pocket at this particular time? Yeah. Good luck to you, Greta. Kemi, what's considered cheap? Another good question, right? I would say, I don't know, significantly less than where you are today. I don't know. To me, I don't know. I would guess maybe, I said the number 40% earlier. I just pulled that out of the air. Can you live there on 40% less than you could where you are? What does that mean? So if you're paying $2,000 per month rent, what's 40% of that? 800? 2,000. So 60% would, 2,000. So if instead of a $2,000 per month housing payment, if you could get someplace where it's $1,200 per month, right? That's another $800 per month that you put towards your dream, right? I don't have a number. I think this is totally individual, right? How much savings is worth it? Totally up to the individual, totally up to all the other costs and expenses, right? Because if you're going to have to tie up money in rents and deposits and turning on utilities and all of that stuff, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe 40% isn't even enough savings. I don't have an answer, right? This is not a hard and fast answer. This is a video about you deciding for yourselves, right? And hearing about some women who've made that decision for themselves. Kathy, if you're still here, do you want to share with us how much of a savings you had by moving in with a family member for those months? And how many months was it? Do you want to share that? And anyone else who's done it, right? Anyone else who's moved someplace less expensive, how much savings did you actually realize, right? How much did you think it was going to save you per month? How much did it actually save you per month? That would be really helpful. That would be really helpful. Anybody who wants to share that information, please do. Hi, Jametta. Good morning. This conversation is right on time. Okay. I'm retiring in the next 2 years, and I'm considering moving now so I can save money for my travel when I retire. I'm glad we're right on time for you. Yeah, so this is a question. Jametta, do you want to share what city you're in now and what city you're considering? You don't have to, okay? No pressure. But if you want to, share that. It's Latasha. Cheaper towns are the ones outside of the big cities, but they're dusty and run down. So if you're willing to be part of the cleanup, that's an option for some. Another conversation Katrina and I just had this yesterday was about Tulsa, Oklahoma. As you may know, some cities are trying to entice digital nomads to move there by paying them a little dough. Tulsa, Oklahoma was, I don't know if it's still happening, paying people $12,000, remote workers $12,000 if they'd be willing to live in Tulsa and work from Tulsa for a year. So basically $1,000 per month, right? But Tulsa. is Tulsa. No offense to you, Anissa, if you're here, but Tulsa is not the easiest place to live. I think everybody would agree with that. They have extreme weather. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold, it's cold. When there's a tornado, there's a tornado. Extreme weather. It's in the middle of, I don't know, right? It's in the middle of I don't know. If you wanted to, if your plan was to live someplace very inexpensive so you could travel a lot right now, is it easy to travel internationally from Tulsa? Right? You got to get a flight to Dallas or get a flight to Miami or get a flight to New York or DC to get out of the country or to LA, right? Is it a place that fits the life that you want for this time period while you're moving into the next? So yes, everything is about the choices that you make and the sacrifices. So you have to know, what are you not willing to sacrifice? Like, are you not willing to sacrifice the weather? Or are you just not willing to sacrifice being in a city where it takes a lot of time and effort and extra money to travel? That's what I think of when I thought of Tulsa. Because I told y'all before, I thought about applying to that program once upon a time. But I just felt like when I wanted to travel, it wouldn't be worth it, right? I would spend up that $12,000 just in the extra cost of getting to an airport to get out of the country. And also, I didn't think I would be able to have a dating life in Tulsa. COVID was like, you don't date anyway, so what are you talking about? But I just didn't feel like it was going to be the right answer for me at that time. Maybe at another time it would be, or would have been. Yes, right? So is the town that you're going to a place that you actually want to live? Are you going to throw yourself into some sort of like depressive episode by moving there? Seriously? Because some places are sad. Some places are sad, and can you even be happy there? Even if it's just for 2 years while you get your money right, or while you wait for retirement, or while you start your business that will support you later. Is it worth that? Okay. Again, there are no yes or no's. This is individual. Is it worth that for you? Who just talked about Detroit this week? Oh, I did an Instagram live this week, and we talked about would Detroit, was that? And I think it's there. Would Detroit be? Oh no! So when I got to Birmingham, I sat down at a restaurant, and they sat a man beside me who was from Nashville. I had just left Nashville and gotten to Birmingham. Man sat beside me who was from Nashville, and we just talked about money. Right? We talked about how expensive Nashville is today. He's been there for 26 years or 36 years or something like that. Talked about how astronomically expensive it is and how his $150,000 home is now $1 million home without him doing a whole lot of nothing, right? The homes in his neighborhood that were $150,000 are now $1 million, right? So he said his daughter is getting married and is a pretty recent college graduate, and he don't know how they're going to afford to live. Because homes in Nashville are $1 million. She cannot afford, her and her husband cannot afford $1 million home, right? So then we just started talking about where would you go today? And I told him, I have a community of women who are headed out of the country. And he was like, I think Detroit. I think Detroit is where I would go if I could be anywhere. If I needed to go anywhere and I needed the cost of living to be the number one factor. As you know, for me personally, myself, Detroit wouldn't fit because of that extreme winter weather, okay? But if I lived in Detroit, could I afford to not experience winter weather in Detroit? If I lived in Detroit, could I afford to snowbird? Could I afford to be in the Caribbean all winter long if I lived in Detroit versus if I tried to set up shop somewhere else, right? Costa Rica, right? If I lived in Detroit instead of Costa Rica, would I save more money? And would I be able to live more, maybe lavishly is the word, live more like I want, right? Again, yes or no's. I don't know. So I think Detroit probably has a social scene. Jalynn lives in Detroit. Jalynn Zen Mama Wellness, she lives in Detroit. I think Detroit probably has more going for it. but you have to be in the right circles, I would guess. You got to meet the right people in Detroit, right? So yes, do you want to be part of this? So Katrina was like, why Tulsa? Why is Tulsa doing this? Because they have artist residencies, they have the remote work program. It's clear Tulsa is trying to make a change. Tulsa feels like they can be at the forefront of the new American city. I think it's clear that this is what they're going for, right? And there are a handful of other cities doing the same thing. They feel like, listen, we can be the city of the future. We can make that, but we got to bring in the right people. Do you want to be part of that? Is Latasha's question, right? Do you want to be involved in that work? Maybe, maybe not. Good question. Donna Hogan says, when we're talking about how do you find the place with the right price and how do you find out if it really is inexpensive, as inexpensive as people say. Donna says, I try to talk with the local people who live there. I got an apartment in Paris for 2 months because of a friend. Yes. Anytime you're doing something as a foreigner or as an outsider, you're going to be subject to that outsider tax, right? You're going to be paying extra. So get local connections anywhere you can. Any way you can. Yeah. Lala says $2,500 per month for a matchbox in Crown Heights 2 years ago. Yeah. Listen, I don't know how y'all do it. I really don't know. Yes. D, I live in New York, pay $1,200 for a 2-bedroom with a terrace, all utilities included, rent controlled. Okay, I see nothing of the sort on the globe. No, yes, those rent controlled apartments in New York, I don't know if you'll ever find anything, anything better in the world. Yeah, you said the magic words, right? Those rent controlled apartments, I don't know those people, but people who have those apartments ain't leaving. So yes, right? There's some people who are in some circumstances in these cities that look unbearable. There are people who have circumstances that make it bearable, right? That make it really pleasant even. So good for you, D. Good for you. That's wonderful. Yeah, Creative Services International. We're in ATL and ain't nothing cheap. No, I feel for people who used 2 or 3 year old data to move to Atlanta very recently. Because yesterday's price is not today's price. Yeah. They were using 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 year old data, I would say, to move to Atlanta, and then got there and got a surprise, an unpleasant surprise. Myra J. My landlord sold the building. My rent is going up by $500. All apartments are $1,400 and up. I regret selling my home 3 years ago, but looking for some changes in career to leave the U.S. Okay, so you sold 3 years ago before the boom, right? Because people who are selling their houses right now don't feel regrets, right? So you sold 3 years ago, and then you're in an apartment where the price is just climbing. So what is your looking for some changes in career? Okay. Yeah, I always say that the solution to a lot of problems is to make more money, right? If you can make more money, a lot of problems go away. Yeah. Good luck, Myra J. Creativity reigns. Do extensive neighborhood searches to include crime rate? Yes. School system? Yes. Google Maps search, etc. Yes. Yeah. My dad worked for DuPont years ago. And he had friends who lived in New Jersey, and he used to be like, I don't know how anybody can afford to live in New Jersey. His big beef was their property insurance costs, and I think their car insurance was really high. Like insurance in general in New Jersey was really high, and I think their taxes were high. But New Jersey, one thing New Jersey did have going for it is they have the best public school systems in the country. Did the parents of New Jersey kids benefit from putting their kids in public schools in New Jersey as opposed to moving to a less expensive city but having to pay for a private school? Because in Delaware, I'm sorry, if you want your kids to get an education, they need to go to a private school, right? There are some places where, and in a lot of the South, right? If you want them to get an education, they need to go to a private school. So maybe things worked out. My dad used to be really upset about about people living in New Jersey. It used to really upset him. But maybe their kids' education paid for the difference, right? Maybe that made up the difference. Priorities, right? You have to know what your personal priorities are. All right. Yes, Lala, my rent is up over 500. Yeah. Femi, I think you need to be prepared to stay in cities a bit longer to really reap the benefits of lower cost of living. I bop around as a nomad and my budget abroad is the same as my budget in Toronto. Yes, right? Digital nomad life is not the cheapest way to go. If you're just in a place for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you're not paying an annual lease, right? You're just booking Airbnbs or whatever, or house. Well, if you're house sitting, you are getting a better price. But if you're getting a better bang for your buck. But if you're talking about renting an Airbnb for 2 months versus a year lease, the lease is going to win every time in terms of price, right? Digital nomad life is not the cheapest way to go. Digital nomad life just works really well because you can be wherever you want to be. And because you can navigate, you can mix up. You can go to expensive places and inexpensive. You can mix them up. Add in some of the cheaper places to balance out the cost of living. Yeah, but paying for a month-long Airbnb, some of these Airbnbs for 1 month, you could get 2 or 3 months if you were renting, right? If you were a renter, that would be 2 or 3 months cost, not 1 month's cost, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we're not talking about that today. We're talking about actually moving and getting a lease or renting or staying with family members or friends or staying with whoever. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah, utilities are awful. That's the thing that used to upset me so much, right? You have to pay for the house, then you have to pay to heat the house. That was very upsetting to me. Excuse me. Alexis H. I pay $875 monthly for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Montgomery, Alabama. Like I said, I just passed through Alabama, and you could tell that prices were better than Nashville, but I didn't look at what the actual prices were. This sounds to me like it's much better than Nashville. So I know Montgomery and Nashville are not close, right? But somebody who worked in Nashville, I don't know. Huntsville is still over an hour away, so it wouldn't work to commute, I don't think. But it might be worth it to go and stay. Right, so yeah, what is somebody paying today? And how long ago did they sign that lease? That's really important information. Because like we said, yesterday's price is not today's price. PPP fraud investigator, 3rd time renewing. I think it'll be my last time because it's looking like it'll get in the $2,000 range. Yes. Yeah, so where are you going? Copious Cat, I save $450 monthly moving from an apartment to a room in a townhouse with the same amenities. Yeah. Yeah. Home sharing is back. Home sharing is back. Whether it's generational family home sharing, friend home sharing, strangers sharing homes, is back. So Kat, how did you find this place? Was this with someone you already knew? Was this a stranger? How did you find that? Sharon, so happy you're having this discussion. I've been doing this and recommending this for years for many different reasons. Planning a vacation, saving for a great car, great life advice in general. Thanks, Sharon. Hello. Yeah, I think that there are people it can really work for. So I want to go back over my quick list, right, of people that I think that this could possibly work for. If you're a remote worker, right, I think it's more beneficial than if you need to find a new job in a new city, right? Because if you're looking for a city with a less expensive cost of living, the pay is also less expensive, right? So if you work remotely or if you make money online or whatever, if you have a YouTube channel that supports you, then it makes more sense to do it than if you need to go to that job and to that city and find a job, right? So I think it makes more sense for a remote worker. I think it makes more sense for people who are willing to share expenses. okay, Golden Girls. Okay, we're doing it. Two ladies from Cancun. Now I can't remember, so I've met too many people this week. So I can't remember who told me that she left Cancun and traveled around with someone already, one of the women that she met in the Cancun meetup already, and they're planning to move together. I can't remember if it was at the Raleigh meetup or at the Nashville meetup. Yes, right? Okay, so remote workers, willing to share expenses, no car payment involved. I just threw that in there because I'm anti-car. Yes, I'm driving a car on this road trip, but I'm like so anti-car. Question marks, right? And for people, I think it works really well. I'm going to add this in for people who want to spend some time with family before they go abroad, right? Want to sneak in or pack in some extra family time or some extra friend time. It can be a good way to send you off out into the world. Spend some time living with the people that you're going to be afraid that you'll miss. Okay, what you'll find out is if you land in the right place, they'll come and visit you and they may stay. Okay, so you don't have to be too worked up in advance about missing people and about not, about being away from your family and friends. But in the meantime, this can be really a good way for you to get some good time with them before you launch yourself out into the world. Okay, question marks. Who do I not know if this works for? If you plan to do a lot of traveling in the meantime, okay, on the plus side, moving to a less expensive place or sharing a home or whatever works because you're going to be gone a lot. My question is it going to be easier for you to travel or harder for you to travel by moving to a new city? If you live in a city right now where it's easy to get an international flight and you can be anywhere in 6 hours, it's really jarring and shocking and yucky to have to take extra steps to get there, right? From Dover, I take a DART bus, a Delaware rapid transit bus to Wilmington, and then I take a train to DC or Baltimore or New York. And then if I go into New York, I have to take another bus or train to get to the airport, right? Now, that doesn't sound terrible, but if I had moved from a city where I could just get on, like Atlanta, where I could just get on the metro and get off at the airport, or like Baltimore, it would be annoying. It would be a nuisance, right? So how much traveling are you going to do in the meantime? Now, on the flip side, if you're going to do a lot of traveling and you're not going to be home, having a less expensive residence makes sense, right? Like Kathy, we started off talking about Kathy, right? Makes sense. Because during the time that Kathy lived with her family member, she spent a significant amount of time out of the country. All right. Lady Joe, the rent in DMV is expensive everywhere. I picked an apartment close to my in-office job that's super close to public transportation, yes. And trains to the Baltimore airport, yes. My lease is really long too. Okay, good. Yes, that's good. So you know that there won't be surprises. No price surprises coming up. Katrina says condo hack. I sold my condo and moved in with my other half. Yes, I was tired of maintaining a place that she barely lived in. Yes, right? That's right. Get you a man with a home, okay? That's right. Crystal, hi Crystal. I'm going to move in with my daughter for 8 months before I go abroad. Good. I love to hear this. Okay? We'll save about $15,000 versus downtown Chicago high rise. Yes. I love to hear this. This is how this works, right? This is when this really works out. When you are willing to share expenses and go someplace cheaper, and all that money is yours for your new life. I'm so glad, Crystal. Yeah. Yvette, I saved $300 per month moving to Raleigh, okay? But it also started the ball rolling to moving ahead with the plan. No going back then. Yeah. Okay, good. $300 a month. So Yvette, was that, in hindsight, are you actually saving that $300 per month? Anybody want to tell us a story of how you moved to a cheaper place and then just spent all that extra money? Okay. Share with your sisters. Does it ever work out where it doesn't really work out? You know, anybody ever have that kind of experience? Angela, okay. All right, is this for, I'm assuming this is about Tulsa, $10,000. Okay, Tulsa gives you $10,000, not $12,000. Thank you, friends. So y'all must be researching this? Okay. You want to tell us what's your plan? Are y'all researching this? I think this is what you're telling me because I have 3 back-to-back comments. So I assume you're telling me that Tulsa money is $10,000, not $12,000. Okay. I remember when I first learned about it, I did a quick search on like realtor.com or apartments.com or something, and it seemed like that was enough to pay for the actual place, right? I could find a decent place to live for that money, so they would basically pay my rent is how it would work. Okay. In my travels, why not just make more money? That's right. That's what I did. Okay. Yeah. I always listen, the solution to a lot of life's problems is to make more money, right? If you can make more money, that would solve a lot of the problems. The way that I made more money over that 15-month time period is basically I worked my job like it was an extra part-time job, right? Like I put on my schedule, these are the days that I'm working these extra hours, and it was non-negotiable. And then cut back seriously on expenses, but most of that, at least half of that $15,000 just came from making more money. I believe in that, right? This is why I always talk. This is why we haven't had too many personal finance experts on this channel, because when are they talking about making more money, right? I don't want to make a sandwich. I need to make more money. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to get on that though. I don't want to talk about that. But yeah. That's always the. Thank you guys. That's always the number one. That's plan A. But sometimes we want to add plan B, plan C, right? House it, go someplace less expensive, share places with family, right? I want to compound my money. Yeah. Miss Zanny, house sat in Tulsa. It's a no. Okay. I agree that there is a small set, there's a type of person for whom Tulsa would work. There's somebody it works for. Libria, right? Libria Jones, who talks remote work stuff, right? The remote work coach who helps people find remote jobs. She's in Tulsa. There is a person that it works for. I think of the extreme weather. You know me, weather dictates my life. Weather dictates my life. I don't think I could handle that extreme weather, the extreme hot and extreme cold and tornadoes. I don't think it's for me. Oh, okay. Rhonda says Libria just did videos following up after a year in the program. Okay, good. We'll check it out. All right. We got competing ideas. Tulsa is coming up though. Auntie Trey says Tulsa's coming up. Okay. Corinne, I prefer to be in a large city with good public transit, gas, and car maintenance is expensive now too. Yes, gas. Okay. I prefer to be in a city with good public transit. Gas and car maintenance are expensive now too. Yes. Yeah, I don't want to have to live my life with a car. I don't want to need a car in order to live my life. I'm over that. I'm not doing that. Jametta Johnson, in Philadelphia, 1-bedroom apartment in Center City, which is just like it sounds. Considering moving to a studio or something cheaper here in Philly. Considering staying in Philly, just going to a smaller or less expensive apartment. Yeah, that is, I think there's a way to make that really work out for you, especially people who are already downsizing to go somewhere else, already downsizing to go abroad. Actually putting yourself in a smaller space can help you do that. Yes. Okay, good, Jametta. Do you have an idea how much that will save you? Y'all stop. Y'all stop. Thank you kindly.
You're welcome.
Gracias. Yeah. I don't know. But there are people for whom this would be a good choice. Yes. Okay. We want to put a full picture out. I'm not giving y'all a rosy picture of Tulsa. Okay. I'm not trying to give y'all a sunshine and rainbows picture of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm just telling you what is out there, okay? What are the options? The thing that we didn't talk about is how far would your move abroad have to be to make it financially worthwhile for you to move a second time or a first time, right? How far in advance would you have to do it for it to make sense? Again, I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing. So we just we just heard from, was it Jametta who said, yes, Jametta, right? So we just heard from Jametta who says she's got 2 years until retirement. So does it make sense to do all of this if the move abroad is 2 years away? Do you need it to be 3 or 4 years for that to actually make financial sense? Is 1 year enough? I think if you're going to stay with family, a few months is enough, right? A few months will make a big difference. But if you're talking about going to a place where you're still going to have to put in all of the money and still going to have to pay for everything, how much, when does it make sense and when does it not make sense to do it? How much time do you need before it actually works out? Because like out here trying, yes, the cost of living in Denver makes saving difficult, yes. Bluebell, 1920, I'm considering selling my house to save money to buy rental real estate. I don't know if I can. You don't want advice from me on that. Okay, you don't want advice from me. I'm trying to land house sits here in Philly till we leave the U.S. Yes, house sitting, okay, house sitter season. Philadelphia is a place where you can find, Philadelphia, the region, you can find house sits during house sitter seasons. Now, Annabella, I don't know that Philly is a place yet where you can house sit all the time. So if we're talking about, so summer and winter, you're going to find house sits in Philly. I don't know if it's a fall and spring house sit location yet. Okay, I need you to know that. Look at trusted house sitters and see you can see a history of when other house sits. You can see a history of house sits, but I don't know if you can tell this on Trusted House Sitters. You just need to look at the dates and see if Philadelphia house sits cut off when summer ends, it's not going to be as easy. There are places in the U.S. where you can house sit year round easy. I believe that. And then just supplement with an Airbnb or whatever, or staying with family or whatever here and there. In California, all up and down. Not all up and down, but Northern and Southern California are places where you could house sit all year long, okay? If you're a good house sitter with good reviews, I need to put all those caveats in there. If you get some bad reviews, nobody's going to book you anywhere. Northern California, Southern California, the New York area, the DC area, Atlanta now, Austin, Colorado, I don't know how far apart different places are in Colorado, but I always see Colorado house sits. I don't know if this means only Denver or only whatever, Colorado. I don't know how far apart Denver and Colorado Springs are or whatever, but house sits in Colorado all the time. Oregon and the Pacific Northwest, but there you have to be willing to go through the region. But in the Pacific Northwest also, if you're free to be anywhere in that region, yeah. Well, I don't know. Seattle or what is in Oregon? I'm going to say regionally there. Chicago is you're seeing more and more houses in Chicago, but I don't know that it's yet a place where you can house sit all year long. Same with Philadelphia. Yeah, okay. And then with the retirees down in Southern Florida. Retirees don't book me to house sit for them in Florida, but it might work for you. Okay, my house sitter school students get house sits in Florida. I struggle to get house sits with retirees in Florida. So I'm about to go to Daytona for this house sit. I think this will be my first official Florida retiree house sit. Because my previous Florida house sit, they were my age, right? They weren't retired, maybe even younger. They weren't retirees. So we'll see. Okay. Crystal. Okay, Crystal. More of Crystal's plan. She's moving in with her daughter in December. Hope to be in Western Europe by late 2023. Okay, so less than so 9 or 10 months. Good. That's wonderful. I love that. Okay. I love that. We started off talking about Kathy. I love that. Put yourself in the best position. Put yourself in the best position. So I have the anti-car bias. I have the anti-job bias. I also have the anti-living on your own and footing the whole bill bias. Right? Pool resources. Share. It really is helpful. It's good. Okay. Sonia, I don't know if we want to have this conversation on Tulsa. So it's the racism. Okay? I think it's the racism for most of us. Tulsa is not a place where people are going to mind their business. Tulsa is, in the United States, white people, American white people really just feel it's their job to police black and brown people, right? To just be in charge of what you do and don't do. Tulsa to me seems extreme, right? Even already living in places where white people think it's their job to police us. Tulsa, it seems extreme. Yeah, right? I don't know I don't know how long it's going to take for it to turn around. I don't know how long and how much people want to deal with that. I don't know that it's worth it. Okay, so we've talked about trade-offs. We've talked about things having everything comes with a sacrifice. I don't know that sacrifice is worth it for most black people. I don't know. Okay, so Love Liaison 65. We have talked about the cost of living. We haven't talked about some of these places with these low cost of living. Are you going to like it there? Are you going to be able to actually live there? Right? So here in Florida, the governor is out of his mind. He's not out of his mind. Actually, he's in his right mind for himself, but he don't care about nobody. Is that going to directly impact you? Your life, your money, your experiences, your access to health care? Very important question. Very important point. Thank you for bringing this up, right? So sure, maybe there are parts of Florida that are still inexpensive. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, right? But is it worth it? Is it? Again, I don't know. No yes or no questions. I'm just asking. Right? Is it worth it to go to places where they're actively working to restrict the rights of the people? So as much as I say I don't understand how people can live in California, they're on a progressive train, which probably helps to make some people's life better, right? Their daily life a little bit better. And if you're talking about going somewhere for 3-4 years while you get your new life plan together and in motion, how much of this stuff, the bad stuff, do you want to deal with? How much of it can you put up with? How much do you want to risk while you're working towards the new? This is a very important question. Thank you, Love Liaison 65. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, right? Because a lot of these places that are still kind of nobody is cheap. No place in the United States is cheap, okay? But these places that are relatively cheaper, I'm thinking Ohio, Cleveland, right? I think Cleveland is still relatively inexpensive, right? But do you want to live under Ohio's politics? And how long? That's an important question. And Smith says she wants legal. I think you're talking about weed legal, right? Anybody choose a weed legal state to save money? When I think of the weed legal states, I don't think of money savings, right? Colorado, I don't know the weed legal states. Colorado, California. That's all I can come up with. Somewhere in the Northwest, either Oregon or Washington, maybe. I don't think of them as inexpensive places, right? So progressive politics comes with a price tag in this country. In this country, progressive politics comes with a price tag. If you're going to be in a progressive state, it's also going to be a more expensive state. That's why a lot of those people have moved out of the Californias and the New York states, moved into the Tennessees and the North Carolinas and the wherevers, because they didn't want to be a part of the progressive politics. They wanted to be in a more Tea Party environment with their homies. So they left California to come to these places. And so the extremes are extreming, right? We're not seeing things evening out. We're seeing the extremes extreming because people are flocking to these places on purpose, right? They might say it's about the money, but is it about the money or is it about the politics and the money? So more other important questions. Yes. All right. Miriam, I moved in with my mother a few months ago, and she decided she's relocating with me abroad in the next few weeks, and we'll both save money and ourselves. That's wonderful, Miriam. That's awesome. Is your mother retired? No problem. Hi, it's your house. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so sometimes, this is a side note, sometimes a lot of that struggle and conflict that we have about, oh, I want to move abroad, but my family or my parents or whatever, like seriously, if you go, they might follow, okay? If you, all that worrying and stressing and crying you did, and then next thing you know, here she is knocking on your door in Mexico talking about, oh, hi, can I move in, right? So maybe just cut out some of that worrying and stressing and crying and just move. And she might follow you. She might come with you. She may even do like Marion's mom and change her mind before you even leave, right? Save yourself some of that worry. It was the Mark Twain expression. I've had a great many worries in my life, some of which actually came true, right? I worried about a lot of stuff, and some of it actually happened. Like most of it did not happen. Yes. Okay, Kathy. Hey, Kathy. Kathy's in there. I think this is where you are now. Philly does not have consistent houses. It's not there yet. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think, to me, being a house sitter, I think that the places that have consistent house sits in the U.S. have some things in common. They have a lot of transplants. They have a lot of people who have moved there for work, or a lot of retirees. And Philly is just not a place where you have a lot of people moving for work or to retire. Like a Denver, like a South Florida, like in Austin. Everybody moved to Austin for work. Like a Southern California or Northern California. I think so Philly could be a place where you can consistently house sit later, but yeah, I don't think it's there yet. Philadelphia, Chicago, Atlanta is a place where you can consistently house sit if you're okay with the region, with broadening out, not just being in the city. Yeah, and those places have that in common. They have transplants. They have people who have moved there from other places. Because most house sits are pet sits. And these are people who don't want to leave their pet alone, and most of them don't have a family member close by who can pet sit for them or who will pet sit for them. And that's when they bring in a house sitter. That's in America. In other places, it's more broad. In the UK, whatever. Your mom can live next door to you. You'll still bring a house sitter in, right? The UK is funny. They believe in house sitting. They love it. But here in the United States right now, you need to... House sitting is best during non-peak seasons. It's best in places with transplants or lots and lots of retirees. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Doris Nance. Well, welcome. She says this conversation is right on time for me. Welcome, Doris. All right. So I asked you a couple of questions, and then I don't know that I've actually read your answers. Hi, Miguel from Portugal. Welcome. All right. The empty nester. If you have children, you have to consider where your kids are in education level. Yes, you don't want to make a move in the year your kids are about to graduate. False alarm. Let me tell you, my parents, we moved February of my senior year in high school. And you know who was not traumatized? Me. I'm a certain type of person who is not really attached to certain things. I wasn't really super attached to the concept of senior year, right? I just wanted to move on to college. Let's get to college, right? Is this going to stop me from going to college? No, let's move. We moved February of my senior year. So some kids won't care. Now, we moved to a state where I had family. We didn't move to where the family was. So it's not like they were in school with me, right? But we moved to a state where I had family. Yeah, we moved in February. I graduated in June, went on about my life. There are different types of kids out there, right? And sometimes, yeah, yeah, there are some kids who don't care about. I didn't. It was clear I had no. I was not tied to the idea of like, oh, senior year, blah blah blah. I just wanted to move on to college. So moving from Ohio to Delaware in February, who cares? A woman at my church came to me so distraught. You can stay with me and my family, whatever, whatever. And I don't even know if I ever told my parents that she offered. I was like, girl, I'm going with my parents. I don't know about you. I ain't staying here. I ain't worried about all that. Yeah, different kids are different. Yeah, but February, okay? Not even during Christmas break. We didn't even move during Christmas break. We moved February, right? And it was not a traumatic experience. I didn't hate it. I didn't cry about it. I left my best friend, but we were going to college. We already knew we were both going to go to Spelman, so we knew we were going to college together. I don't really remember a goodbye party. I was just like, bye, y'all. I'll see you another time. But different kids are different. I do want to say that. Different kids are different. It would be hard. That would be hard for some kids. No big deal for other kids. Some parents, it would be harder for some parents than for some kids. Debbie C says, let's get our Golden Girls on, y'all. For those with homes, consider renting rooms to ExodUS Summit Sisters. We can help each other. I like that idea. Okay, this is not an endorsement. Don't come to me with your problems. If your roommate is a mess, I ain't got nothing to do with it. But yes, yeah, home sharing, right? Sharing the load, sharing the home. I'm into it. I'm into it. Yeah. I have a vision for this community, where we do some sort of sabbatical swap, home swap thing, but I don't really want to do it. I don't want to be in charge of it. But somewhere down the line, the next 5 years or so, I would like for there to be a way for us to swap, to share, to whatever, right here in on our platform, right? Because I'm into it. I've been watching Trixie Mattel, well, on YouTube. I don't have the Discovery Plus, but I've been watching on YouTube. So Trixie Mattel is a world famous drag queen who bought a motel in Palm Springs and is renovating it. And I'm like, I don't want to run a motel, but I would love to have like a sabbatical motel, the sabbatical suites. Anyway, we're getting off topic. I want someone else to run the sabbatical suites, and I just come and stay there, I think is what I actually want. I don't think I want anything to do with it, but it would be super cute to have like our little pink motel with our little pool, and each room has a little sabbatical theme, and women stay there for various amounts of times to sabbatical. Off topic. Okay, thank you. Out here trying. Denver and Colorado Springs aren't far. Then yes, Denver is Colorado is a place where you can house sit all year. I don't think you would need a home in Colorado. If you're a good house sitter, it's another place. Okay, thanks y'all. All right. Oh. Hey Nirel, Chicago house sits are demanding. These pets have better lives than me. I don't enjoy high-rise house sits as much as I enjoy high rises, right? I don't enjoy high-rise house sits with dogs because I don't want to have to take that dog out, do all this work, right? It's more work. There's like a schedule. When you have a dog who lives in a high-rise, that dog has a schedule. Whereas if you have a dog who just lives in a house or a townhouse or whatever, you just open the back door, right? He goes out in the back door. He comes back in when he feels like it. Yes. Yeah. I can imagine, Nirel, between the dog having a schedule and just being super pampered, I can imagine it's work. All right. Okay. Lucy Lash says, please hit the like button. Thanks for that, Lucy. Yeah. If you'll take a second, hit the like button on the video to let YouTube know that this was a good one. So it'll try and share it with other people. Try and suggest it to other people. I would appreciate that. Thank you, friends. All right. So Sasha, can I house sit and live in the San Francisco Bay Area? Yeah. That would be a short drive home for me. Yeah. San Francisco Bay Area house sits are year round. right? So if you're good with cats and dogs, this is a place where you could house it year round, and then just occasionally get a place to stay in the meantime, right? Occasionally get Airbnb so in San Francisco, there are homes that are co-living homes, right? Find something like that for the days when you're not house sitting. So I just opened a TikTok. Do you say opened a TikTok? I just started a TikTok, and I think I'm going to do a TikTok on where I stay in between house sits sometime soon. On TikTok, I am House Sitter School. On TikTok, I am at House Sitter School. And I think I'll do a video on that. But yeah, right? Yeah, Bay Area, Southern California, Atlanta, Austin, DC, New York, metropolitan area. These are places where you could house sit year round. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Right? And then just if you have a day or two in the meantime, you go get yourself a place to stay. Or a week, right? It might be a week out of the month. You get yourself a place to stay. All right. Okay. Sonia asked about Tulsa, and then she was like, oh no, I cannot do racism. Okay. Yeah, right. So we have to know all the place that we're looking to go to. That's a quote unquote less expensive place. What is it going to cost? Right? What is the cost? There's something. It's going to cost you something. Might cost you a social life. Might cost you some quiet, like in Mexico, Lake Chapala, Mexico. I always try to warn people, Lake Chapala is just a loud place. It's loud. Might cost you some quiet. What is the cost? There's something, right? I don't think there's a heaven on earth. I don't think there's a place that's heaven on earth. So what is the cost? Yeah. Yes. So yes, right? Tulsa is it's just extreme. I haven't been to Tulsa, okay? Okay? This is through my internet research. And this is through my internet research. You never hear stories about good interactions, black and brown people having good interactions with white people in Oklahoma. Yes, right? There's something bred into American white people that tells them it's their job to police people. And in Tulsa, that thing is kicked up to 1,000. It's just on another level, right? Okay, so Angela has been in Tulsa for a week. Okay, I've only been here for a week. Is Tulsa a place where you can live your life without interacting with white people? Maybe that's the question, right? Is it a place where there are enough black and brown people that you don't have to interact with white people? Yeah. Racism is a spiritual issue. Yes, it's not how we're meant to live. We're not meant to live a life where we have to look over our shoulder and where we have to be on fight or flight mode all the time. No, it's not. Okay. And then N. Smith says Oregon isn't much different. Okay. Right? So we have to make informed decisions and choices. It's raining. Katrina and I are getting ready to go out to eat. It's raining. I have my umbrellas in the car. Maybe it'll pass over maybe. Jacksonville, right? We're in Florida where rain just passes over. Yeah. Sonia, I've dealt with regular everyday racism, but extreme racism gives me bad anxiety. We don't want any of it. So now that you've been out of the country for a long time, racism is different, right? So things that used to let fly by and not really register because there was, a bigger threat. Everything is you're more raw and sensitive to things now, I think, my opinion. When I leave and come back, I'm more sensitive to things because I don't have my armor on, right? So it's harder. It's harder to deal with the big and small things after you leave and come back for a while, unless you're a person who can put that gate back up, put that armor back on. It's why I stay for shorter and shorter times every time I come back. Maria says she shared spaces in her 20s. Roommates are just different. It can be done a better way. It can be done a better way. I'm convinced. Yeah. I need a place where people mind their business. This would explain why you like Mexico so much, Sonia. Mexico is just a place full of people who know how to mind their business, who live their lives, and don't worry about you and what you're doing. It's a really wonderful feeling. They mind their business. They mind their business. They're going on with their lives. It's why black women love it. It's why gay, lesbian people love it. It's why whoever. It's why people love it. They mind their business, but they're also helpful. It's a strange combination of you do what you want, okay? But if you need me, I'm here. I guess that's not really a strange combination, but it's an unusual combination for a lot of us, right? They don't find it's their responsibility to police you and what you're doing. But they can spot somebody who needs help in a heartbeat. They can spot a senior citizen who needs a seat on a bus. They can spot somebody who needs assistance and give assistance willingly. But they don't feel like it's their job. And I know that is one of my major problems with American white people. It's bred into them that it's their responsibility to police other people, to be all up in your business and what you're doing. It's why they love to be nurses, teachers, right? The teacher shortage among black people, is it a teacher shortage, or is it that white women just love to be teachers so they can police you, right? So that they can get early in and get these black and brown kids early in labeled as problematic, as troublemakers. They love it. It's why they love being nurses. They don't love providing health care. They love reporting on you, right? Or telling you what to do. They love policing people. That's bred into them. It's not a normal state of people around the world. You'll find people around the world who don't care about what you do. And it's why, Sonia, I would guess, it's one of the reasons you love Mexico so much, because it's one of the things that I love Mexico for. Okay, good. Monique Michelle says Libria has some in-depth interviews with residents of Tulsa. Good. Okay, so Libria Jones is, I don't remember her YouTube channel. I'm gonna see if I can look it up really quickly. Since we've bashed Tulsa sufficiently, I think I should do my part in unbashing. So let's see. Is she Libria or is she? Yes, she's Libria Jones on YouTube, and she has a name where when you type in her name, it comes up. I'm always jealous of people who have their own name. My name is so generic that it's not helpful. Like when somebody tells you my name, you can't find my stuff. Libria. Okay, so this is Libria Jones' name. If you put her in on YouTube, you'll find her. So if anyone is interested in the Tulsa remote work program where they're paying people $10,000 to move to Tulsa, or if you're interested in hearing their experiences in Tulsa or the experiences of local black and brown people in Tulsa, look her up, okay? Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, look her up. I joke when I say bashing. Yes, yeah, we're just telling the truth. I'm just joking. The word bashing is just a joke. It's okay. Trolls they can't hurt us. They can't hurt us. Yeah, same in Japan. This is right. In Japan, people mind their business. Nobody stared at me in Japan and I look like this. Right? Like I'm used to getting stared at. In Birmingham, I get stared at, right? Like I get stared at. Even in a place where I fit in, I still get stared at. I'm 5'9", I have this hair, I get stared at, right? Nobody stared at me in Japan, not even the children. Children always stare at me, right? Not even the children stared at me. I know this child may see black people kind of regularly, perhaps. But I know this child has not seen this. They do not stare, they mind their business. Yes, right? It's just a nice way, nice feeling, a nice way to be able to live and not feel like you're constantly under surveillance. Bluebell, 1920. I know a white woman who moved from Southern California to North Carolina and she hates it. She's a typical progressive Southern California. These quote unquote progressives move to these places on purpose. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. They move to these, I don't know what you call them. Conservative isn't even the right word. They move to these states on purpose. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Right? That was the plan. That was the plan. They moved to these places because they wanted to be in less progressive places. On purpose. Yeah, they got what they wanted. Okay. All right. So we've talked about the options, right, of moving to a less expensive place or moving in with someone and sharing expenses. We've talked about who it's for. Remote workers, good. New job and need a new job in the city, probably not a good option. Of course, there are exceptions. If you're going to share the expenses, good. If you need to foot the entire bill yourself, not as good of an option. I think the further out your move date is, probably the better. But I don't know that there's a real cutoff time where it's still not helpful, particularly if you're going to be sharing expenses. And then we talked about whether or not you're going to do a lot of traveling in the new place, right? And how does that affect your decision to go to a cheaper, quote unquote, cheaper city? If you want to be able to travel easily, some of these cheaper cities are also cities where it's not easy to travel internationally from. We talked about not taking other people's word for it with the cost of living. Okay, yesterday's price is not today's price. Somebody telling you that she rented her apartment for this amount and she got in there 2 years ago, that figure is null and void today. What she paid 2 years ago or 1 year ago, that figure is not a factor today. You need to find out what things are actually costing people today. Okay. Community, again, get yourself into communities with people who live in these places, right? That way you can find out the real on the ground figure now. Okay. All right. So how did we do? What does that mean, Erica? Erica Dinero TV, hi. Am I supposed to be scrolling for a troll, for a new person? I just put somebody out. I think it was naked pictures something. I just put them out. All right. Tell me what y'all mean by 666s in the chat. Or are you talking to each other and not me? Oh, here they go. Love chat dating site ban. Okay. Aaron. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you have to explain it to me because I don't see everything. I don't see everything. Oh, OnlyFans. Okay. Ban. Bye, Aaron. I don't see everything. I use a third party called Ecamm Live, and I see some things. And not everything. I don't see everything in the chat. That's why I go back and watch these replays. Okay, thanks, guys. I got him. All right. Okay. So this is not a video where you're going to come away with an answer. This is a video where you're going to come away with some questions. Hopefully you'll keep me posted on where you are in this journey. And if you're deciding to go someplace less expensive for a while you work on the grand plan, I hope we gave you some ideas as to what to keep in mind. Okay? I would love to interview a Black woman who has run away from home. Okay? I'm looking for someone to email me, Stephanie@vicarious.com, if you have just abandoned your responsibilities and run away from home. Whatever that looks like for you. To me, that means without a whole lot of planning. What we do, I wouldn't consider that running away from home. We talked about this on Instagram, and I really want to have the conversation. Again, Kathy's channel. I was watching Kathy Hampton, and she has a video on what to do if you feel like you need to run away from home, right? What you can do for yourself while you, I would like to give the caveat of while you work on an actual exit strategy. Because I got no problem with exiting your life the way it looks today, okay? But I don't want you to do it in a way that is unprepared, right? That leaves you just out here floundering. I'm not into out here floundering. So I would like to talk to a or more than one black woman who have run away from home to talk about so that we can work on how to recognize this boiling up in you, other people, and how we can come up with a better plan. Okay, so please, sincerely, okay, if you would like to talk about this on my channel, email me at stephanie@vicarious.com. Okay, I'm serious about this. I know women are doing it, okay, but I don't have anybody that I know I can point to and have a conversation with about it. So email me if you want to talk about this, okay? I'm not talking about I made a plan, I moved abroad, right? I'm talking about I ran away from my responsibilities. Whether it worked for you or didn't, I don't care about that, right? Like, I mean, I do care about that for you, but I mean, for the conversation, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it worked out, if it didn't work out, if it was a terrible decision, if it was a good decision. Either way, I'm okay with that. But that's what I would love to talk with you. Please email me, stephanie@vicarious.com, okay? What we're doing is not a runaway, okay? What we're doing is developing a plan strategically. But if you have just run away and abandoned your life, I'd love to talk with you about it, because sometimes we see women here who are on their last rope, right? Or last leg or last string, just barely hanging on. And I would like to reach those women before you get to that point. How can we talk to you before you get to that point? So that you can move into your life whole and healthy and not frazzled and frantic. I'm alliterating today. What is it when you say all the words with the same letter? Is that alliteration? Whole and healthy, not the same letter, but the same sound. So that wouldn't be alliteration. But frazzled and frantic, I think that's alliteration. Okay? So please email me if you'd like to talk about this. Sincerely, this is a sincere invitation. If there's more than one woman, we'll talk to more than one woman. Okay? So I am leaving Jacksonville to head to Daytona and then somewhere else. And then I have a house sit in Daytona, and then I have a house sit in Fort Myers. So I'll be in Florida for a while. So you'll see some different backgrounds every time we talk for the next few days, next few weeks. But I hope you're well, and remember to look in the description of this video if you're into house sitting and you want to get started. I have my new house sitter toolkit at housesit.vicarious.com/toolkit. The link to that is in the description of this video. Like I said, I'm house sitting Daytona and Fort Myers, Florida. But it's still house sitter season. Main house sitter season is summertime. So we have until Labor Day. If you want to get in a last minute summertime house sit, you have time. You do have time, okay? But you need to move on it today, okay? So I see your question, where do I book house sits? I house sit through Trusted House Sitters. Only girl, get my new house sitter toolkit. You'll have my affiliate link to join Trusted House Sitters. You'll get my letter to apply to house sits. All right, so join Trusted House Sitters, get my new house sitter toolkit. Welcome to house sitting. So there's time to do it, okay? If you want to get in before Labor Day, it's early August, and Labor Day is usually the first weekend in September. I didn't look it up, okay? But you got time to get in a last minute house sit. I'm only house sitting in houses with pools this summer, all right? I did some good Nashville pictures in that pool. So if you follow me on Instagram, I'm at Vicarious. You can see some of my pool pictures. I'm only doing pools all summer. The Fort Myers backyard is beautiful. I don't remember too much about the house, but I remember it beautiful backyard. So check me out on Instagram so that you can see the updates. Amazing. It is. She's got a really nice guest room for me. My room in Katrina's house is really nice. Yes, I love my room here. Now that I know the address, they're in trouble. They are in trouble. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, of course, for sharing, for giving, for helping, for answering questions that I couldn't get to. I appreciate that so much. I'll see you again next Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, okay? In the meantime, go ahead and go to the description, get your new house sitter toolkit. Let's get ourselves a nice house sit to close the summer out. Okay. All right, I think that's it for me. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.